Hello and welcome to our first edition of Freedom Flow, a place for free-flowing conversation where we discuss different aspects of life. My name is Lloyd Crossfield.
And I am Verona Crossfield.
I am Bishop of the church in Southall called Freedom Worship Centre. And we have two churches in Jamaica. And I oversee the two churches there and the church here in Southall.
And I am also a pastor at Freedom Worship Centre, but I also work in education for young people that are outside the school system. So
we've had a major move in our life. Towards the end of last year, 2020. We moved home from where we were. How long were we there for?
23 years.
23 years, yeah, a long time. So with that move, we began to think about the different journeys that we've been on as a couple, and we decided to take it right back, as it were, to the beginning. So we're going to be discussing being a child, but looking at it from how we related to our parents or how our parents related to us when we were born. So, Verona, affectionately known as Babe. Well, yeah. What was it like? What was it like for you? You were born.
Okay, so I was one of 8 children born to my parents. So I am the last girl. There were 5 girls and there were 3 boys that came after me. But we grew up as 9 children. There was another sister who kind of moved in with us and just lived with us all my life. So I really didn't know any different. But yeah, growing up with my parents, it was... I thoroughly enjoyed my childhood. We didn't have much, but I didn't know that we didn't have much. We just lived and laughed and loved. And went through a lot of trauma as well as a family. But even though my parents are no longer here, as siblings, we still interact with each other really well. How about you? What was it like for you?
Yeah, I think I was £7 something or the other. Can't remember exactly how much. I remember being a handsome baby.
Here we go. Here we go.
No, the pictures say it, right?
All right, you were cute, baby.
Yeah,
you were cute, baby. I give it to you.
It was like, oh, isn't he cute? So yeah, my parents. It was when I got to know them in terms of maybe from the age of 4 or 5, if I can even remember correctly, but. Growing up with them, it was nice. It was good. They provided for us. We didn't have much in terms of riches, as you would say, but you could tell as children, we could tell that mum and dad loved us and they provided for us. So even things like, I don't know what it's like for you guys. Well, I do. I think I know a bit, but when others maybe went away. Out of the country or what have you, we weren't able to do that. But remember mum and dad putting us together in the van, I think it was, and going down to the seaside in the summertime.
Yes. We had the annual trip, and because of the numbers, it was the church van. But every year we went to the seaside, and we even went down to see the changing of the guards, to feed the birds in Trafalgar Square. That's some time ago. I don't think they're there now.
All right.
But I even remember going to Madame Tussauds and places like that. My dad was
Madame Tussauds?
Yeah, my dad used to take us...
Hold on.
Places.
I've never been.
Whoa!
Never been.
Come on. I've been a few times.
Wow.
A few times,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, my dad was very big on us experiencing different things because he was an overseer of a few churches over the years. He also wanted us to experience life as well, so he tried to keep it as balanced as possible.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, one day I'm sure I'll get to Madame Tussauds. Maybe you can take me there.
Okay, it's a deal. I'll take you.
No, but you did take us to the London Eye, which I hadn't been to. So that was good. Yeah. So I think with my parents, the other side of it was the ministry side, which when I look back on it, I think it was literally all of their life, and they gave all of their life to it. And so there were times when they were out a lot. And I do remember times when our parents would say, we'll soon be back. And they left, and they 2-3 hours later, they still went back.
Yeah.
and that soon be back always felt like, okay, how soon is soon?
Yeah.
But it was always church work. Mm-hmm. It was always
had very much the same experience. I do think that our parents' generation leading the church, it cost them. It cost them a great amount of time, effort and energy, because our parents worked full-time. Well, my father worked full-time, but then he worked nights by choice, so that during the day he could lead the church and do what he needed to do. So I think that generation of leaders gave a lot, and they sacrificed a lot. And I believe that as a result of that, family life did suffer.
I was going to say, do you feel that you missed out any at all?
I don't know if I'd say it's missing out, because I can't miss what I don't know. But I do know that I felt even back then that it was a big price. It was a big price to have a father who was an overseer and to be the, in inverted commas, first family in the church. It was big shoes.
Yeah. So what about discipline from your point? I mean, because when I think about my parents, I don't think that I really got...
You were spoiled. You're trying to put it nicely. You were spoiled.
No, I was... listen, no, it wasn't about being spoiled. It was about behaving oneself in the right way, so you wouldn't have to be beaten with a strap. Do you remember?
No.
Some people... No,
it was common. It was common in our generation, but I was the fifth child, and I think by then my parents were tired.
Okay,
must be, because I don't recall. I really cannot remember being.
Oh, so you were
beaten.
the spoiled one?
No.
Yes.
Far from
must
it.
Have been.
Far from it.
I wasn't beaten.
Yeah.
My dad never put his hand to us in that way. I don't think at all.
And I think because my brothers after me, the two that came after me specifically were so mischievous and got into so much trouble. And my parents were literally, and my parents literally didn't need the gym because they were a workout for my parents. I think that's probably why I got overlooked when it came to discipline, because it was all for them. Wow. But discipline, my father and mother had high standards and they did not compromise. And they did what they felt was necessary to keep us in line as much as they could. And even though it was hard at the time, I can see why they did it, to make sure that we grew up to be the people we are today. So Did you ever feel, I think sometimes when I was, on the times when I did get told off, when I got told off, I felt like, why am I here? Why am I part of this family? I don't want to be. I should never have been born. Yeah. Did you ever feel like that? Because I think some people out there, because of their childhood, they wish they'd never been born. How did you feel? I remember actually saying it to my mum once, only once.
And you lived to tell the tale.
Come on, I didn't ask to be here, was my words to my mother. And her reaction was very quick and very swift and crossed my lips, and that was it, end of conversation. But yes, I did think about that. I thought about it a lot, because I think the pressures of leading the church and raising a family with so many children sometimes spilled over into the atmosphere being quite somber. And then on top of that, you had school where you were picked on because people knew you went to church, and you weren't allowed to do. You weren't allowed to do what everyone else was doing and go where everyone else was going. So there was that conflict. And on top of that, you also had people in the church that felt that because you were the pastor's child, then you were a Christian and you needed to act like, you're going to raise the dead, when actually you were still battling with your own little struggle, shall you say. So it was intense. So I had moments where I thought, this is long. I don't really want to be doing this life, but God has a plan.
Yeah, he certainly does. And here we are.
Here we are.
I remember with my dad in particular, I've told this story before though, is that thing about love. And remembering, I said to my mum once, I said to her, Mum, I really feel like telling Dad that I love him. And she was like, oh, really? And she's like, oh, go and tell him. So I went upstairs, trudged upstairs to the room, and I went to Dad and I said, Dad, I love you. And his response was, what you want?
Yeah.
He was that kind of generation that didn't really... I think for my dad, because he grew up as an only child as well, he had a hard life and made the most of life in terms of what he could. But you were a daddy's girl, weren't you?
Absolutely.
No denial.
No, absolutely a daddy's girl. But I remember my parents weren't the type to say I love you either until they moved to Jamaica. This was after we were married. They moved to Jamaica, and every time I rang, I'd finish off the conversation, love you, and they'd go, until as the more I did it, they'd then start saying it themselves. So it was later on in life that they were encouraged, shall we say. And then they picked it up and ran with it and would say it first. But growing up as young children, no, it's not something. But you could feel their love.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You could feel their sacrifice, their protection. You knew. You just knew that they loved you. So, yeah. Yeah.
So they're both our parents have gone home to be with the Lord now. So how do you feel about that?
I have my moments where I think it's unfair that they've gone already, but I also understand that God has a plan. And as it says in Ecclesiastes, there's a time for every purpose under the heavens, and it was their time to go home and be at rest. So I value the memories that I have. I value what they instilled in me, and I value the fact that those memories can never be taken from me. If I had a choice, they'd still be here, but God had a plan, and I'm okay with that plan. And my thing is not to wallow in grief, but it is about going and letting them know that what they instilled in me was valuable. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say, the foundation that they've laid for us. And I think for both of us in terms of our parents, my dad suffered with cancer, bowel cancer, and Mum, she had the strokes and all of these different things that happened. But for them to be still alive in a condition where they're not really living, it would be unfair.
Yeah, it's unfair to keep them in that state, especially when I know your father, like mine, they were men's men, strong leaders in every capacity. Yeah. And so then for them to be living almost incapacitated, being looked after, it's not what they would have wanted. So if God saw fit to take them home, so I stand with that. That's okay.
But there will be stars in their crown. They worked hard.
Absolutely.
And we thank God for their lives.
Yeah. And I have to mention, you mentioned that I was a daddy's girl. Yeah. I was a daddy's girl because to this day, I have not met a man who...
Huh?
I have not met a man who can hang wallpaper, matching paper, paint.
2.
He also does the cementing.
3.
He can do gardening and grow vegetables.
4.
He can fix cars.
5.
He cooks, and for convention will cook the beef. All the sisters said his beef was the best.
Wow.
He combed my hair. My hair was long and thick in my back, and he could do that. And he could also darn his own socks and sew up if there was anything wrong with his clothing. Even in our generation and the generation coming up, I still have not met one like that. That was my dad.
Wow.
You were Melbourne Simpson. Oh, yeah.
Not even me.
Babe.
Okay, all right, look, I tried, okay, I'm going to put it right out there because it has to be a thing that will be said.
DIY.
Yeah, don't worry about DIY. We'll leave that one alone. However, my beautiful wife here, she was away for work, and I had to look after the girls and get their hair done. Get their hair, I don't know why you're laughing. Get their hair done for school. And so I tried to plait it, but it didn't really plait. So
the girls have got long hair.
Yeah, they got really long hair. So you can't blame me for that. I mean, I tried the same thing like Daddy did. It didn't work.
It didn't work. No.
You know, I tried.
And your DIY.
DIY, it's okay until the children come along. So when they start using things, it then goes a bit funny. But that's not my fault.
What?
Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to finish that.
So yes, I was Daddy's girl. However, I still had a good relationship with my mum. Mm-hmm. My mum had struggles in life, and she suffered with mental health on and off over the years. Mm-hmm. But in later life, that drew us close together, and she spent a lot of time with you and I. In our home, just spending time with us. So I thank God. I just thank God for the relationship I had with both my parents.
Yeah.
Because it was invaluable. I have memories that will last as long as I have breath. So I'm grateful to God.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to really appreciate their parents. And you know, parents don't get it right all the time.
No.
But we know that our parents, they worked hard, they made sacrifices. And when they got older in life, we were able, along with the other siblings, to look after them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an honour. Honour your father and your mother, that your days may be long.
Absolutely. So then, Lloyd, what do we have for the second episode? What will we be discussing?
Second episode, we will be looking at the aspect of being a sibling.
Oh.
Yeah, so we'll talk from that angle.
Okay.
What it was like growing up with your brothers and sisters, your army.
My army, and we were an army. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
we were not so much.
We hope and pray that you enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned. We'll be back with episode 2 of Freedom Flow. God bless you.
Bless you.